shenjo, ewa womoge bo shenjo, ewa womoge bo shenjo, ewa womoge bo shenjo.
Yeah.
Oh, what a day.
What a day.
Oh, what a day.
Oh, what a day. Yeah.
Oh, what a day.
A fire burning up in there. People running up and down. I got you, baby.
Oh, what a day.
Fire burning up in there. People running up and down. I got you, baby.
Oh, what a day. Oh, what a day.
Splash FM 105.5.
All right, good afternoon and welcome to Talking Points today, the 18th of April, 2023. Okay, so you know the deal on the program Talking Points. It is to get us talking about things that affect us as a people. Let's do this business again today on the program Talking Points, Splash FM 105.5. All right, so you know, if you talk about the homestead, stories about Adamawa in the news. INEC has published more like an update on Adamawa recently. Just a few minutes ago, I saw on the INEC's official Twitter handle talking about the suspension of the REC, Adamawa REC, and his recommendation that the IGP should arrest him and prosecute him. All right, so you have the story about Senator Binani, who has gone to court to ask the court to mandate INEC to retain the verdict of the REC, even though, you know, a lot of people have said it's illegal. But have you seen Section 149 of the Electoral Act? Okay, it's one section that I thought we would like to dwell upon. What is in this Section 149 of the Electoral Act 2022? What's it about? All right, so a lot of people are questioning the, would you like to say, the fact that a lot of analysts, including almost everybody who has a know on the electoral matter, that why should you question the REC indeed? Okay, so Section 25 has laid that to bed, really. Section 25 of the Electoral Act talked about the people who should announce results. And someone, I remember Shewan Kiola was saying, someone on radio, I was challenging him to say, but Professor Mahmoud Yakubu was the one who announced the result of the presidential election. Well, if you go to the Constitution or the Electoral Act, you will see that it's described as the chief returning officer, the chief electoral officer, and the interpretation section of the Constitution of the Electoral Act tells you that is the chairman of the Electoral Commission. But in this case, let me bring this to your reckoning, and then I'll bring Goke to the microphone. Section 149 of the Electoral Act 2022. Notwithstanding any other provisions of this act, any defect or error arising from any actions taken by an official of the Commission in relation to any notice, form or document made or given, or other things done by the official in pursuance of the provisions of the Constitution or of this Act, or any such rules made thereunder remain valid unless otherwise challenged and declared invalid by a competent court of law or tribunal. You see, we're not lawyers in this studio, and we're not judges in this studio, okay? But you see, as journalists, it's important to open the eyes of people or society, of stakeholders to issues arising from, decisions or actions or inactions in the polity. That's what we're about this afternoon. Goki, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Michael. Good afternoon to all of our listeners. It's nice to be here again today.
All right. So, Adamawa in the news, like I told you. Let's start with the story about his suspension and mandate to the IGP to arrest him and prosecute him. This is the Nigerian Tribune. Breaking: INEC asks IGP to arrest, prosecute Adamawa Rec. Read a bit of that story. The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, on Tuesday wrote the Inspector General of Police, IGP Usman Baba Alkali, to investigate his resident electoral commissioner, REC, for Adamawa State Barrister Hudu Yunusa Ari for prosecution. All right, so what is it about? Just see if I can get a bit of that story, the other sections. It said the electoral umpire also requested the secretary to the government of the Federation, SGF, Boss Mustafa, to review the appointment of the REC over his unwholesome behavior. The commissioner made the decision after its meeting on Tuesday in Abuja, and collation process shall resume at a time to be determined by the returning officer. The commission agreed in the meeting. So you have that story there. And then I told you about Senator Binani going to court. Adamawa Guba, court ignores Binani's motion, gives reason. Let's see what's here. A Federal High Court, Abuja, on Tuesday refused to hear an ex parte motion filed by the All Progressives Congress candidate in the Adamawa governorship election, Senator Aisha Dahiru Ahmed, popularly known as Binani. Justice Inyang Ekwo instead ordered the APC Candidates Council, Mohammed Sharif, to address the court on issue of jurisdiction before the hearing of the substantive motion. Upon resumed hearing on the matter, Aziz Motami announced appearance for Governor Fintiri, the third respondent in the suit, shortly after the sheriff mentioned his name. The lawyer told the court that though they were yet to be served, they had filed a motion to counterpart of Binani's prayers. He said they got the hint about the ex parte motion through social media, hence they decided to file a motion. Okay, so you understand the intrigues going down here. I saw the Binani's prayer, and it is to say that the court should order INEC to stay action, to recognize the decision taken by the REC already. Okay, so we were saying that the electoral law says that it's only a returning officer who has the power to announce governorship election results. Clear. So you have these issues, Goki. What do you make of this matter?
You see, in Nigeria, I am not always surprised, when we have issues like this, because basically anything can happen in Nigeria. As a matter of fact, the issue that we have in Adamawa is more or less like a season film. If you sleep and miss one episode, you might be out of the whole episode. But let's not be mischievous with things, because we do that a lot. Some weeks ago, I saw the interview of Agbakoba, and he was saying, with his knowledge of the law, in fact, and understand that he's a senior advocate of Nigeria, you might want to sit down and say, okay, looking at the provision of the law, this is where this judgment will go to. But you understand that this, so many of our courts that might, in the Yoruba words of maybe declare the fourth person as the winner, declare second as loser, and the rest issues like that, you will be surprised because you cannot actually adequately predict it. In a sane climb, this should not even be tendered at all. But of course, we can tweak the law for our own advantage. And Michael, let me say this. I am not a legal juggernaut or anything like that. I am just, some people will say bloody journalist that is just doing his job. But the point is clear. Because as journalists, we have to make certain things clear to the people. The APC, in this case, they are just being mischievous. Because it is clear. The section 63, section 64, Section 65 of the Electoral Act is clear on who should decide, especially as it concerns the collation and the announcement of results. If you check all of that section, Michael, you will not see the REC there. You will not see the Resident Electoral Commissioner there. What you will see is the returning officer.
Okay.
So if the APC is bringing the argument of section 149 that you read to us, to say no matter the action of anyone, it can only be challenged later at the tribunal, you will want to ask yourself the question, because I will read that, that section again. It said, notwithstanding any other provision of this act, any defect or error arising from any action taken by an official of the commission in relation to any notice. So in relation to the notice, you want to ask yourself, what is the relation of the REC to the declaration of the results? That relationship cannot be established. So it can be sustained or maintained. Moving further too, is that to any notice, form, document made or given done by official in pursuance of the provision of the Constitution, the REC does not have the constitutional power to pursue anything in Section 62, Section 63, Section 64, Section 65. So what are we talking about exactly? And you see, we are very quick to say, declare me. In that particular case, in our prayer, according to her, and I'm reading, I think this is Channels News, and I'm reading, according to her, after the completion of the vote in the supplementary gubernatorial election of April 15 and the subsequent collation of the same result, you want to ask yourself, were they done with the collation? No. We can confidently say, it is common knowledge to say, indeed, the election was over. But the collation of results that warrants that you read all of the votes that have been counted, all of the votes that have been rejected, all of the votes that were, allocated to each party from the local government level. You come and count them local government by local government.
And then you have the agents.
And then you have the agent signing to it and say, indeed, we have sent our signature to this.
Before the announcement.
Before the announcement. And in all of this, did this happen? No. So apart from talking about the fact that, this official is not supposed to say it, Michael was the one that's supposed to speak, not Goki. The point is, did they do all of the things that they were supposed to do? No, it didn't happen. Let's not forget, here in Oyo State, that before the time that the election was declared, so many of us already had access to the IRF.
Exactly.
We saw it.
Yeah, exactly.
But then, you cannot go on to declare somebody as the winner until the process is done. So it doesn't matter even when INEC has, we've seen it on IRF and say, okay, Governor Seyi Makinde won the election, defeating Teslim. No. You had to sit down, wait. All the political party agents had to sit and wait and listen to the collation of all of the local government. That is the same thing that you would get in Adamawa. So the APC saying Section 149, nullifies every other thing that might have happened in Section 55, Section 56. Abba.
Okay, but the question for me is this. I know that there's no law that is perfect.
Of course.
I know that this Electoral Act 2022 is also a consequence of some experience, some culture, some traditions, history, and legal judgments and legal provisions and all that. But it looks like this section 149, the question to ask is, how did it get here? Because the drafters, I was wondering, did the drafters not know that somebody can come one day and just take the result sheet from somebody and decide to run away with it?
Then go and declare the vote.
That's the question I was asking, because we were talking, before we came into the studio, we were talking about how this electoral act came to be.
You see, Michael, it is in two parts. Don't forget that the person that we are even talking about here, Senator Binan, is a serving, senator
who was part of the
whole process.
Law.
So probably they even saw this loophole there. Of course, it is normal that when you look at, a constitutional drafting or any act that you have, there are some lacunas there. And two, the point is, it is now on the shoulders of civil societies, the press, and the citizens to say, did anybody raise a concern about this? Let's be fair with ourselves. Do we really have, enough debate on issues like this? While we were looking at the sitting on Electoral Act, did anybody raise this concern? Because basically there was actually a committee that was set up to look at it. And you will tell me that all of those committees across political parties did not see this.
Okay, so if we base the reading of this section 149 on English language, it means that anybody can make mistake.
Of course.
And then it becomes valid.
And it becomes valid. And that is why we now have the very popular saying of go to court.
All right.
Whether Michael remains in his house and declare result, go to court.
All right, it's still talking points on Splash FM here in the city of Ibadan. You see the complexities. Would you like to be a part of the conversation? I ask you to join the conversation after now. We have a commercial break. But meanwhile, you can join us on Facebook. Okay, are you there? If you're not there, just quickly, go to Facebook now. Splash FM 105.5 Ibadan. That is the location. Kim Alatishe, thank you for greeting us. We're greeting you too. Okay, thank you very much for your observations. Corrected already. All right, let's do the business. The business side of our conversation, the commercial break, and we'll be back in a moment.
Splash FM 105.5.
Mami, ṣé gbogbo ife bọ́ǹfìtà ilẹ̀ fẹ́ pín?
Bẹ́ẹ̀ni, ó ṣàmọ̀ pé àkókò yìí ní ṣe pẹ̀lú nǹkan pínpín.
Torí ẹ̀ ní bọ́ǹfìtà ṣe ń pín 50 gíráàmù lórí ìdí alátùrọ̀ onígíráàmù 104 kọ̀ọ̀kan. Àwọn ife wọ̀nyí á jẹ́ ti bọ̀dá Musa, alábàágbé wa, ìyàwó wọn, Uncle K.
Lákòókò yìí, ẹ jẹ́ gbádùn àfikún 50 gíráàmù lórí ìdí bọ́ǹfìtà alátùrọ̀ 104 gíráàmù tẹ́ bá rà. Ìyẹn túmọ̀ sí àfikún ìṣaralóore dídára ti bọ́ǹfìtà. Bọ́ǹfìtà, ó kún fún èròǹgbà rere.
As we continue to go through some kind hard time, Suffering Bank say make we take am suffer. Everything go better. Papa and mama, sister and brother, uncle and auntie, Suffering they do 10,000 naira raffle draw when you open account with them. You sef fit follow for the lucky people wey go win 10,000 naira each every month. Which bank dey for you when you no get? Na bank wey remember us during hard times we go follow. Oh yeah, hurry now. Go download Suffering app. That is SOFRI. Make yourself enjoy your own 10,000 naira. Suffering Naija. Everything go better. Follow their social media for Bank Suffering for Motori. Now FCCPC and LROC approve am.
Due to economic constraints, this house will implement spending cuts on household essentials. First, luxury items. Cable subscription from premium to standard.
Aye.
Generator from 4 hours to 2 hours.
Aye.
Now to daily necessities. 3 crowns milk from...
Don't touch us. 3 crowns milk, oh.
Why?
Mom sacrifices a lot, and 3 crowns milk nourishes Mom so that she can support our family.
Moms are our treasures beyond measure. So treasure Mom with low cholesterol 3 crowns milk today.
Henceforth, 3 crowns milk increases from 3 to 16 weekly.
3 crowns milk. Healthy moms, happy families.
Boss, all pressure no day.
Oh, hope goes who hope you there. Kile.
Our branded materials, Nisa.
One brand already right? You know me to be Boss Premium Pro Max. Kini go now. How many times do I have to tell you that all our branding items like plain t-shirts, plain polos, face caps, reflector jackets, head warmers should be gotten from Shirt Shop, the largest distribution network of quality materials in Southwest Nigeria? Oh yeah, Ile, I am done with you.
Sir.
They play.
Insult you. For all your tie and dye and branding plate t-shirts, polos, face caps, you can visit
24 Darlington Street, opposite Darlington Hotels, Mokola, Ibadan. 080-9563-0781.
Shop 2 Phoenix Junction, Stadium Road, Ogbomosho. 0903-536-1584.
Ní ìlú Òṣogbo, Shop 36C, Olawale Plaza, opposite Wema Bank, Olonkoro. 090-3893-7963.
For Ile-Ife, 42A, Goodluck Plaza, where the opposite Methodist Church, Obalufon. 0909-392-9424.
Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter platforms at ShirtShop_NG.
Get more from your afternoons. Plug into the good vibes. Make your day a lot more fun and exciting on the Splash BM Vibe. I'm talking bands, trivia, social media trends, and celebrity wars. Everything that means anything to you.
So it's your girl Ira Star, and you're listening to Toyo C on Splash FM.
Hi, what up, bitch? It's your man Vector the Viper, aka VZ, and I'm hanging with my girl Toyo C on Splash.
Hi there,
My name is Johnny Drill, and you're listening to Toyosi.
You're not on social media? Not to worry. We'll be bringing social media to you on the Splash PM Vibes. Join Oluwatoyosi Oloshunde on the Splash PM Vibes Thursdays 1:15 to 2 p.m. exclusively on Splash 105.5 FM. The Splash PM Vibes, bringing back the fun to your afternoon.
This is what goodness tastes like. Golden caramel, creamy buttermint, and rich coffee. There's a Cadbury candy for every moment.
Introducing Cadbury Caramel Candy, Cadbury Coffee, and your favorite Cadbury Buttermint candies. Now there's lots more to share and enjoy.
Oh yeah, there's a Cadbury candy for every moment.
Wow! Your baby is here! Congratulations!
Do not waste time. Put your baby to breast within the first 1 hour of delivery to give that first yellowish milk colostrum. Colostrum has all the important nutrients your baby needs to start a healthy life. Colostrum also helps to protect your baby against diseases. Remember, put your baby to breast within the first 1 hour of delivery.
This message is from the Anring Project or your state's Ministry of Health.
Splash FM 105.5.
All right, it's still talking points on Splash FM here in the city of Ibadan. Welcome back. I'd like to have your conversation on Facebook if you'd like to join me now. Streaming live, okay? So, and, let me quickly inform you that I will be talking about certain the scientific, it's technical if you like, or scientific if you like. There's something called, antimicrobial resistance. I was looking at it and I was thinking, what does it mean? But you see, the World Health Organization has defined it as the next pandemic. What exactly is it about? This is what I'll be talking about in a moment. But before I go there, Boyega Bolaniwa on Facebook says, Mike, what is that quote? What is that quote these politicians will ask you to approach the moment any of them loses the election fraudulently declared or not by election bodies? Are these politicians not making mockery of judicial processes? Are they implying that our courts have been compromised? Okay, this is Babatunde Ibirogba. It says that was this woman win at all costs? Okay. What pained me most is Keyamo posting this illegality on his Twitter page and called himself senior advocate. One day, one drama in this APC government. Babatunde Ibirogba, thank you very much. It says when they know they own the courts. Oh, wow. Strong allegations here. David Tayo Olomo here. Good afternoon to you. Okay, it says thank you very much to you too for joining us. Let's see how it pans out on the program today. Okay, so I'll quickly, very quickly, just have a conversation on this matter now. Okay, so let me go to just something that I wrote down here before I bring my guests to the microphone. I said that there's something called antimicrobial resistance, and the World Health Organization has described it as the next pandemic. Why is this so? Okay, and for the World Health Organization, antimicrobial resistance occurs, they call it AMR, occurs when bacteria, viruses, fungi, and parasites change over time and no longer respond to medicines, making infections harder to treat and increasing the risk of disease spread, severe illness, and death. As a result of this, they call this drug resistance. Antibiotics and other antimicrobial medicines become ineffective, and infections become increasingly difficult or impossible to treat. So essentially, what we are saying here is that there was this thing that came to my mind while I was trying to read up, and it is the fact that I remember that many years ago, to treat malaria, all you needed was all these chloroquine-based, medicines. At a point, I know that we have been told that, malaria became resistant to some of, strains. Malaria strains became resistant to some of these drugs, and they had to come up with what we now call ACT, anti-malaria combination therapy, or something of that sort, where you have a combination of elements, all right, to treat malaria. In fact, I was reading also a report recently that says that in some parts of the world, even the ACT is also weakening. And then this is the crux of the matter on the program today. I have guests from the University of Ibadan. Let me first of all bring Prof to the microphone. Professor Adetunji Victoria, right? Yeah. All right. She is a public Department of Veterinary Public Health and Preventive Medicine, University of Ibadan. Welcome, Prof.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, so I said something about antimicrobial resistance and talked about drugs. Some diseases now becoming stubborn against some drugs and all that. Am I online?
Of course, it's we call it a looming pandemic because it's something that is imminent. It's one health issue that, if not curbed, could lead to death of at least 10 million annually by 2050. It's something that has to be addressed quickly. It's increasing. It's a pandemic issue because globally we have increase in resistant pathogens generally. So it's something that we need to address quickly.
Okay. So in other words, I want to know how we got here. My reading, I got this from the website of the World Health Organization, that drug resistance is leading to this thing that you now call the next looming pandemic. Yeah. And it says that, antimicrobial medicines becoming ineffective and infections becoming increasingly difficult or impossible to treat. I want to know which comes first. Is it the diseases, the viruses, the microbes or whatever that are becoming stubborn, or the drugs that are being manufactured to treat them are the ones that are being weakened? Which one comes first?
I think one leads to the other. The inappropriate and misuse of antibiotics has led to the evolution of resistant pathogens, whether virus, bacteria, or parasites. And so we're having an evolution of microbes that were initially sensitive to medicines that were clinically available. Now they are now no more sensitive, making infections more difficult to treat, thereby allowing an easier spread of these pathogens in the environment. So when we're having more resistant pathogens, it means that we're having persistence of these pathogens in the environment, thereby leading to an increase in untreatable infections. So it's one leading to the other. The abuse and misuse of antimicrobials have led to the increase in these resistant microbes.
So in other words, many of us, I know some people, when they have malaria and they are given drugs to treat malaria, and usually the drugs will be maybe 3 days or something, and after day one, they feel better. They just dump the drugs. And then there's this thing they call the malaria relapsing, right?
Yeah.
And then if you use the same drug, it may be very difficult for the malaria to go away. I might say, because I'm a journalist, I'm not a scientist.
Actually, that's you've just described, a misuse of antibiotics, not using a sub level, not using the actual level needed. Maybe by not completing the course of the drug, or using an underdosage of the drug. And we also have this issue of not having the appropriate drugs in the market. Drugs having an under level of the active ingredients in the dosage, especially with tetracycline. Some of our drugs are having a lower level of the actual active ingredients in them. So that's the situation we have there.
Okay, so I will come to Oluwatobi in a moment, but I like to have this continue this conversation with Prof. And there's this thing that just came up. I thought to bring it up now. Okay, so thankfully we now have malaria vaccine, and Nigeria is just after Ghana, just last week Ghana approved this vaccine made in Oxford. By I think an Indian company or something in Oxford. Nigeria has come second, approving the drug and all that. Yesterday NAFDAC said we are going to receive 100,000 doses by donation and all that. And because Nigeria carries a heavy burden of malaria globally, and even the deaths are very high and all that, it will be good news to get vaccine to eliminate malaria rather than continue to take abuse drugs. Would you say that's we are on course?
Yeah, we are, because one of the major step in the right direction is to actually provide other alternatives or to antibiotics. So anything we could do. Vaccination is a key one. It's a preventable one. So preventing disease conditions if the vaccines are available. Secondly, using alternatives to the antibiotics, we could be probiotics.
Okay.
Probiotics are actually beneficial organisms, which have been produced to help boost the immunity to prevent the establishment of disease infection. Another thing aside vaccine and the use of alternatives is to ensure biosecurity, hygienic issues. To ensure biosecurity issues are in place on our farms, hygienic processes of management in the hospital are in place to prevent disease infections. So when we don't have any disease, then there won't be any need for any antibiotics. So it's the right steps taken in the right direction.
I know that antimicrobial resistance can affect humans and animals.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the juncture that I want to, bring Fashiku, Oluwatobi Fashiku here. Is of the Association of Veterinary Medical Students, University of Ibadan. Fashiku, Oluwatobi, welcome.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
I'd like you to come closer to the microphone. All right. So I understand that you are having what's this now that you are having? Is it a public lecture on antimicrobial resistance, a looming pandemic, and you are looking at roles of veterinarians and antimicrobial stewardship. Tell me, what occasioned this lecture?
The public lecture is an annual event organized by the Association of Veterinary Medical Students, University of Ibadan, the student branch of the Faculty of Veterinary Medicine, to address contemporary issues in the veterinary space, as well as One Health generally, not just the veterinary space, also other issues affecting both humans and animals alike. So in the past, we've had other lectures dealing with the roles of vets in the pandemic, when we resumed from the pandemic in 2021.
Yes.
We also had roles of vets in 2019. Our topic then was about the roles of vets in national security. Then when the issues of the Fulani herdsmen started. So then we had a keynote speaker who was a vet, and at the same time the AIG of the police, Dr. Shatu Baju, that year to address that. So she fitted into that particular role. But this time around, we are considering antimicrobial resistance because, as you have also mentioned, as you read on WHO website, that it's the next pandemic if we are not careful as humans, as the stakeholders involved in the management of all these drugs. So the association is meant to address this by organizing a lecture that will, just like it's titled, public lecture. So the members of the public, we're inviting members of the public, members of the stakeholders, people involved in farm animal medicine, people involved in veterinary profession, even human medics, and then feed producers, as well as farmers who are concerned with this particular concern. They will be invited to enlighten them. So we are inviting a keynote speaker, the retired Chief Veterinary Officer of Nigeria, who will be speaking on this particular major concern.
All right, so it's a major concern, and it's something that we need to pay attention to. I'm particularly bothered by the fact that I know the experience we had 2020, 2021, when the COVID pandemic took the world. And I'm afraid when the World Health Organization begins to warn you that there could be danger coming, we have to get prepared. But my own question is, you see, lectures are academic. How do you connect, this topic? How do you connect it to the reality on ground for the regular person out there? Tell me, what's the plan?
Okay. Initially, part of the things that even inspired this particular topic is the fact that, apart from the general concerns right now, I'm a final student of the Faculty of Veterinary Medicine, and under my professor here, I worked on the occurrence of methicillin-resistant staph aureus in pigs. So we sampled various farms within 25 local governments in Ibadan here, and we discovered that many of the Staphylococcus aureus were isolated from these animals happen to be highly resistant to the major antibiotics, the over-the-counter antibiotics, like the go-to antibiotics that you use in tackling infections. So when we saw that this antimicrobial resistance of a thing that we are talking about is no longer on paper. It is right here with us. It's next to us right now. And if the right actions are not taken, if the people that are involved, the farmers, the veterinarians are not involved, are not brought to the table to have a get-together talk kind of conversation to speak about how they can tackle this thing once and for all, at least from now to we eventually see the end of antimicrobial resistance. That's why we eventually decided that no, there should be a kind of lecture on this issue.
Okay.
Yes.
Interesting. Okay, so that means that it is reversible, right?
Yes, if we start taking the right actions, that is where the stewardship comes in. The human medics, the veterinarians, the farm animals. So, the resistance per se is not coming from just, it's coming from the habits, the usage of these particular drugs.
Yeah.
There are issues of some farmers using these drugs as kind of like feed additives to make the animals add weight or grow faster.
Okay.
There are even some that when they just see certain signs in their animals, without proper diagnosis or any consultation with the right professionals, they just apply these drugs. So these are the things that are contributing to the resistance. And over time, these infectious pathogens will become resistant to every go-to antibiotic we have.
Okay, so when we come back from this break, it's a commercial break, I'll come back to Prof. There's a particular question I have. Like I said, the caveat is I'm not a scientist, but there's a concern. Recently, just like he said, the application, the misuse and misapplication of drugs and all that. He was talking about the vet world and all that. I want to come back to the human world. Recently, I observed that, and I've read quite a number of things about it, that pharmacists would, if you go to a pharmacist to say you have to complain about malaria, they will, part of the drugs that they will give you antibiotics. I will come to that when we come back from this break. It's still Talking Points on Splash FM here in the city of Ibadan.
Splash FM 105.5.
Màámi, ṣé gbogbo ife bọ́ǹfìtà ilẹ̀ fẹ́ pín?
Bẹ́ẹ̀ ni, ó ṣàmọ̀ pé àkókò yìí ní ṣe pẹ̀lú nǹkan pínpín.
Torí ẹ̀ ní bọ́ǹfìtà ṣe ń pín 50 gíráàmù lórí ìdí alátùrọ̀ onígíráàmù 104 àbọ̀ kọ̀ọ̀kan. Àwọn ife wọ̀nyí á jẹ́ ti bọ̀dá Musa, alábàágbé wa, ìyàwó wọn, Uncle K.
Lákòókò yìí, ẹ jẹ́ gbádùn àfikún 50 gíráàmù lórí ìdí bọ́ǹfìtà alátùrọ̀ 104 àbọ̀ gíráàmù tẹ́ bá rà. Ìyẹn túmọ̀ sí àfikún ìṣaralóore dídára ti bọ́ǹfìtà. Bọ́ǹfìtà, ó kún fún èròǹgbà rere.
Àti ṣí o, àti ń ta o, ṣọ́ọ̀bù alálùbáríkà tèmídìrẹ ultra modern market, Gbági market extension.
Golden Bricks Realty and Investment Limited. Àjọṣepọ̀ pẹ̀lú ìjọba ìpínlẹ̀ Ọ̀yọ́ tó ti ṣàṣeyọrí tó lóòrìn. Tèmídìrẹ ultra modern market and shopping mall. Ọjà Gbági tuntun phase 2 Wema Iwo Road Ìbàdàn. Àti ṣí àti ń tàwọn shops yẹn báyìí o. Bẹ́ẹ̀ lọ́jà títà ti bẹ̀rẹ̀ ń bẹ̀ ní pẹ́rẹ́. Ẹ fẹ́ra sọ lálá. Àǹkárá lẹ́sìn gíní báàgì àti bàtà. Ṣọ́ọ̀bù tẹ́tí lérò jíjẹ wa ń bẹ pẹ̀lú. Ìjọba ló allocate ẹ̀. Ààbò tó gbógun bẹ́ẹ̀ ń bẹ tọ̀sán tó rú wọn gbẹ́bọ̀ ò síbẹ̀. Wọ́n tún kọ́lé ìgbọ̀nsẹ̀. Bẹ́ẹ̀ ni ẹ láti ti yípo bẹ̀. Ó tóbi ó pọ̀ ó fẹ̀. Ó yẹ ṣẹ̀ṣẹ̀ fẹ́ rẹ́ǹtì ní abẹ́ fẹ́ ra ṣọ́ọ̀bù. Èyí náà gé tètè lọ gba fọ́ọ̀mù báyìí. The Ministry of Trade and Investment room 56 Secretariat Ìbàdàn. Wàhálà ilẹ̀ kúrẹ́rẹ́. Ẹ pè 08028834320 08028834320. Àrètí yín lọ́jà Tèmídìrẹ Gbági tuntun ìlú Ìbàdàn.
Sleep
Sleepwalking through the afternoon. Sleepwalking through the afternoon. Sleepwalking through the afternoon. Don't live life on repeat. Enjoy your break moments with Fiber Life Pulpy, a treat that awakens your senses and fills you with zest. So feel those moments with the indulgent sensations of Fiber Life Pulpy. Fiber Life, filled with life.
Tóyọ̀, ǹjẹ́ o ti gbọ́?
Pé kí ni o bá dérò?
Pé ṣé ìgbóhùnsáfẹ́fẹ́ ti gbọ̀nà ọ̀nà àrà yọ?
Jọ̀ọ́ mi sí kí n rí gbọ́.
Jẹ́ ń já ẹ tán. Àǹfààní àìlẹ́gbẹ́ ni Splash FM Media Academy gbé kalẹ̀ fún gbogbo olùgbé ìlú Ìbàdàn àti agbègbè rẹ̀. Kí ló ti gbọ́? Láti di akọ́ṣẹ́mọṣẹ́ oníròyìn tó perégedé ní ìbámu pẹ̀lú ìlànà ìgbóhùnsáfẹ́fẹ́ òde òní yálà lórí rédíò tàbí ayélujára. Àwọn akọ́ṣẹ́mọṣẹ́ olùkọ́ni tí wọ́n mọ̀ ti fún tẹ̀dọ̀ iṣẹ́ ìgbóhùnsáfẹ́fẹ́ wà níkàlẹ̀ láti tọ́ ọ sọ́nà tí ó tọ́ lórí onírúurú ẹ̀kọ́ bíi program development, journalism, digital media, production, news presentations. Wo mélòó ni mo fẹ́ kà? OPG ó pọ̀ gan-an.
Mo rí ọ̀nà.
Tóyọ̀, ibo ló ń sáré lọ?
Àròjọ́ Mùsùlùkùn mo ń lọ ṣe ìforúkọsílẹ̀ tèmi nìyẹn.
Tó bá rí bẹ́ẹ̀, lọ sí Splash FM Media Academy tí ó fẹ́ gbẹ́kẹ̀gbẹ́ pẹ̀lú Splash 105.5 FM ilé funfun báláwú fẹ́lẹ́lẹ̀ nílẹ̀ Ìbàdàn láti gba fọ́ọ̀mù tirẹ̀ tàbí kí o pe ẹ̀rọ ìbánisọ̀rọ̀ yìí 07054393332. Splash FM Media Academy, ìdáàbòbò ìwà ọmọlúàbí nínú ètò ìgbóhùnsáfẹ́fẹ́.
Eléyìí fún Yakubu, èyí fún Rasaki, fún Ahmed, fún Aisha, fún Khadija, fún.
Brahimo, ṣé o tún ti ń to oúnjẹ ni? Kí ni gbogbo oúnjẹ yìí wà fún?
Wò ó Taofeek, mo ti pinnu láti wọ inú oṣù Ramadan yìí lọ́nà ọ̀tun nípa pípín oúnjẹ sínú Peak yogurt drink pẹ̀lú àwọn ọ̀rẹ́ mi aláàwẹ̀.
Èrò tó dáa nìyẹn. Ìtọrẹ àánú dára gan-an ni.
Òdodo ọ̀rọ̀, ẹ gba ìtura lákọ̀tun nínú Ramadan yìí pẹ̀lú Peak yogurt drink tó ní àkọ̀tun wàrà màlúù nínú.
Peak, reach for your peak.
Wẹ́yìn mi méjèèjì dáadáa, wàá rí bó ṣe ṣe pàtàkì sí mi tó. Wo inú ọkàn rẹ̀, níbẹ̀ ni mo jókòó sí. Níwọ̀n bá àgbà tó o ti rí mi nínú ọkà àyà rẹ̀, o ò nílò àti wo nǹkan kiri mọ́ o.
Nígbà tèmi náà kọ́kọ́ fojú kan ẹ̀ ni mo ti rí ìfẹ́. Nígbà tó o jàjà fọwọ́ kàn mí, nífẹ̀ẹ́ rẹ ti bò mí mọ́lẹ̀.
Kòkòrò ìfẹ́ mi níbo ló wà o.
Alẹ́ olólùfẹ́. Ètò tó lapẹ́já táwọn èèyàn ń jẹ̀gbáládùn rẹ̀ ní gbogbo alẹ́ ọjọ́bọ̀ Thursday látàgọ́ 10 àbọ̀ àṣálẹ́ ṣáàgó kan òru 10:30 p.m. to 1 a.m. ní Splash FM 105.5. Àwọn orin àdídùn, ọ̀rọ̀ ìṣítí nípa ìfẹ́ àti ìlàkọjá àwọn olólùfẹ́ ló sodo sí alẹ́ olólùfẹ́.
Olólùfẹ́ wojú mi sọ fún mi.
Orí ètò yìí la ti ń so olólùfẹ́ méjì pọ̀ lábala wọkọ̀wáyà. Àwọn olólùfẹ́ àtàwọn tó ṣẹ̀ṣẹ̀ fẹ́ ní ìrírí ìfẹ́ kò kí ń fi ètò yìí ṣeré. Torí àǹfààní àti mú orin àdídùn láti fi ìfẹ́ hàn sí olólùfẹ́ ní wà ní sẹpẹ́. Alẹ́ olólùfẹ́. Ẹ já darapọ̀ mọ́ Olúwagbémiga Adégòkè, arákùnrin Gòkè, àfìdúkọ̀nà ìfẹ́ lọ́jọ́bọ̀ Thursday ọ̀sẹ̀ yìí látàgọ́ 10 àbọ̀ àṣálẹ́ 10:30 p.m. ní ìkànnì Splash FM 105.5. Alẹ́ olólùfẹ́ kò ṣeé má gbọ́ ni.
Ọwọ́ mi rè fà mí dání.
Àbẹ́ ò rí nǹkan, ẹ̀bùn pàtàkì látọ̀dọ̀ Ọlọ́run lọmọ jẹ́ fáwọn òbí, tómi ọyàn sì jẹ́ ẹ̀bùn Ọlọ́run fáwọn ọmọ. Ó ní gbogbo èròjà aṣaralóore pẹ̀lú omi tọ́mọ rẹ nílò. Fún oṣù 6 àkọ́kọ́, máa fọ́mọ rẹ ní ọyàn nìkan. Rántí o, omi ọyàn nìkan fún oṣù 6 àkọ́kọ́. Ìkéde yìí wá láti àkọ́ṣeṣẹ́ ARIN, iléeṣẹ́ tó ń mójútó ètò ìlera ìpínlẹ̀ Ọ̀yọ́.
Get ready to go into space as Blink's event awards is here again. Tag the space experience. Come experience glitz and glamour like never before as individuals and brands get awarded for being exceptional in their various fields. Takeoff would be happening live at Blink Space Station, Dylan Event Center, Songo Eleyele, Ibadan on the 23rd of April 2023. Your space shuttle captain and event host is Aisha Lawal. Boarding pass, silver, 5 100,000 naira. Gold, 10,000 naira. Table, 250,000 naira. 500,000 naira and 1 million naira. For sponsorship and partnership, contact 0705 5012 389. Blings Event Awards 2023 is powered by Blings and supported by Load NG. Get your space gears ready. We are going to space.
Splash FM 105.5.
All right, you're welcome back. It's still Talking Points on Splash FM here in the city of Ibadan. On Facebook, Akiade Mike Paul. Abuse of antimicrobials in food animal production is contributing to the disaster of antimicrobial resistance in human health. We consume meat products laden with antibiotics residue, and it's becoming a problem to our wellness and health being. This is one good move by the veterinary students of University of Ibadan to organize a program to enlighten the public. All right, thank you very much for that. So when you read that comment, you know that it's coming from a pro, basically, in that area. So there's a connection from my reading of his comment here. It says that there's a connection between, antimicrobial resistance in humans and in animals. So when you feed animals with, the wrong formula, and we consume these animals, what basically is that we are consuming them to get nutrient and all that. So we extract some of these things from them, and then it affects us as humans as well. So it basically tells you that we are in a mesh in this world. If you go by the SDGs, you understand that it's about the planet, the people, and the prosperity for every element in the chain. I still have with me Professor Victoria Adetunji, Department of Veterinary Public Health, Preventive Medicine, University of Ibadan here. Let me quickly come to you, madam. I was talking about the malaria question. So if you go to a regular chemist around you and then you talk about joint pain and all that, they say it's malaria. They give you malaria drugs and they give you antibiotics. What do you think about that?
First of all, I want to start by saying we discourage sales of drugs without prescription, a prescription from a medical doctor. Even for the veterinary drugs, there are rules that have been stipulated that our drugs are no more over-the-counter drugs, and where they are being used, it is still being done. It is wrong.
Okay.
So it's wrong to give drugs without proper diagnosis. Evidence-based diagnosis. And what do I mean by evidence-based diagnosis? For these microbes, there's need to do some sensitivity to know which antimicrobial will this pathogen be sensitive to.
Okay.
When that is not done, it is a guesswork. And that's why we're having this evolution of resistant traits. So we want to discourage buying drugs over the counter, pharmacies selling the drugs over the counter without a medical prescription. So we should also avoid self-medication. The fact that you have pains in your joint may not necessarily mean it's malaria. The fact that I have headache may not mean I'm having headache per se. It could be an hypertensive condition where I'm having high blood pressure.
So you have to check.
You have to check. There's need for a proper checkup.
All right. So let me come to, as we conclude, the Fashiku Oluwatobi. Let me come back to you. Your Association of Veterinary Medical Students, University of Ibadan, is holding this public lecture. And it's the theme is antimicrobial resistance, a looming pandemic, roles of veterinarians and antimicrobial stewardship. Let me have the details. Well, maybe I should start with, am I invited?
Yes, you're invited. You're invited, sir, because this is something that concerns the public. So it would be a nice thing to have the media covering this event, sir.
Okay, so give me the details once again. Where, what, when, and all that.
The event is holding on the 26th of April, next week, Wednesday, at the Faculty Auditorium, Faculty of Veterinary Medicine, University of Ibadan. And like I mentioned earlier, the keynote speaker, the retired Chief Veterinary Officer of Nigeria, Dr. Memuna Habib, will be the keynote speaker, among other professionals in this area, like our prof and other distinguished professionals.
All right, thank you very much for coming. I'd like to say thanks to you for coming. Let me, Prof. Yes.
I was just going to say, to conclude, we need to work together to contain antimicrobial resistance. It's a One Health approach. All disciplines, the public, the veterinarians, the medical doctors, individuals, we need to work together. The environmental scientists, we need to work together to address this. If one sector is doing it properly and the other sector is not effective, we can't achieve our goal.
All right.
So we need to work together to achieve this.
Professor Victoria Adetunji, Department of Veterinary, Public Health and Preventive Medicine, University of Ibadan. Thank you, madam, for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Oluwatobi Fashiku, Associate of Veterinary Medical Students, University of Ibadan. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, sir.
I have Adesonwo, right? Adesonwo Esther, also of the Association of Veterinary Medical Students, University of Ibadan. Thank you also for coming. Goke, thank you for coming as well.
It's a pleasure. Already.
Back to your section 149 some other time.
I'm scared about the pig, Michael. Consume less pig now.
All right, the job is done for today. I'd like to ask you to join me again on Thursday. Talking Points. Meanwhile, as soon as I leave now, Ibadan news update at 4 o'clock, and then afterwards, Splash Super Drive, the Tuesday edition. Please don't dump refuse in the waterways. My name is Michael Olatunbosun.
Splash FM 105.5.
The message is brought to you by Cowbell Evaporated Milk.
The message, here's the message.
Inna alhamdulillahi ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Wa natawakkalu alayhi. All praise is due to Allah, the most beneficent, the most gracious. In only Him we believe, in only Him we trust. May His peace and blessings be upon Muhammad, on his noble household, and on his righteous companions.
Aisha, why do you have so many tins and sachets of cowbell milk?
My sister, it is what I plan to share with people this Ramadan. No?
Hey, Aisha, you can start by sharing some with me now.
Oh yeah, take. It's Ramadan after all.
In this holy month, share the nourishing goodness of cowbell milk with friends and family. It contains B9, Vitarich, and it's so creamy, so good.